Hey BC Boom family, it's Gerlisa here. I hope you guys had a great summer and you are so excited and ready for the school year. So in Genesis, it talks about that no man should be alone. And we're not just talking about male and female romantic relationships, but man as in the human race. We are social beings. We need social interaction. We need each other. We need community. And community is all about sharing the like interests with other people around you and achieving a goal that's similar to yours, and you build community around that. Community is so important because it holds you accountable. They're able to pinpoint blind spots that you may not be able to see. And it also helps you to just move forward into the things that God has planned for you and the things that God has called you to be. A strong community, at least. Now, a negative community, on the other hand, can help you to backtrack and to just do things that are not productive. Now, as we get into our ministry partners, as they go deeper into this topic, I want you guys to think about the community that you are surrounded with.
What's up? I'm Kennedy. Some things are scarier when you have to do them alone. Just think about it for a second. Haunted houses, presenting in front of your class, or trying out for a team are all scarier without friends. Okay, so for my birthday one year, one of my best friends moved to Nevada, and my other best friend suggested that we should go and see that best friend. But I am scared of planes. But my best friend, who was here in Georgia with me, decided to book the tickets, book our seats right beside each other, and held my hand the whole time. And in that, I realized that planes were a lot less scarier when I had somebody there to hold my hand through it. Things are simply better and less frightening when we can live life together with other people. And church is the same way. We're not saying that faith is scary or frightening, but there are parts of it that are confusing. It's easy and natural to deal with doubts and struggles. All of that is less intimidating if you don't have to face it alone. And that's one of the reasons we have small groups. We don't want church to just be a sit and listen to the lecture experience. It's not a monologue from the stage. We want it to be a dialogue, a conversation between you and other people. We want it to be a place where you can live life together alongside other people. The concept of small groups sounds nice, but I recognize that it might not be everybody's favorite. Maybe you're not even sure why we do them. You may not be into your small group, and for good reason. For example, maybe you already have friends. You might be thinking, I don't need a small group. I have my people. Why do I have to be friends with people at church? It feels forced. Or maybe you don't like some of the people in your group. Look, we get it. We don't just assume that if we put a group of people in the same group, they're all of a sudden going to be best friends. Sometimes people annoy people. Sometimes people don't have anything in common. Sometimes people struggle with personality differences. Sometimes you may even wonder, am I supposed to fit in with this group? Or are they supposed to fit in with me? Either way, something is just, well, a little off. Or maybe for some of you, it's that you don't trust some of the people in your group. Maybe you like most of the people in your group, but you don't necessarily trust them. You're pretty sure that if you share something deep and personal, someone would make a joke, or someone would talk about it outside of the group. You simply don't know the people in your group well enough. You don't know what they say or do outside of the group. Being open, honest, and vulnerable sounds good, but you're not sure if you can trust the people in your group. Maybe you feel judged. Look, maybe you feel like your history or your reputation isn't the best. You have made some mistakes in your past. Or maybe you are new to church, or you don't know much about Christianity or the Bible, or maybe you're not even sure what you think about this whole religion thing. If you were really, really honest, you'd admit that you're a little nervous to speak up. You wonder things like, what if I sound stupid? What if I don't know what I'm talking about? Or you think, I can't say anything in small group. I'm not well behaved enough. No matter how much we say from stage that it doesn't matter what you've done, you're always welcomed in small group, we still get that it's difficult to truly believe that message. Maybe you don't want to talk to people. Maybe you're not much of a talker in any situation, or maybe you feel like you come to church to connect with God. You don't have to talk to other people to do that. It's not that you think it's bad or wrong. You just hate it when you're talking and other people are looking at you. So, small group is actually kind of nerve-wracking for you. Again, we totally get it. This list could go on. Maybe it's a different reason. Maybe you find yourself in small group wondering, what are we supposed to be doing here? Or counting the minutes until you can leave and go get something to eat. You may not even go. Instead, after service ends, you bounce because the small group time just isn't your thing. Sometimes you may simply wonder, what's the point of small group? That's what we're going to talk about the next few minutes. Let's start by taking it all the way back to the very beginning, like the very beginning. You may have heard of the very first chapter of the very first book in the Bible, Genesis. It starts with, in the beginning, God created, followed by a whole chapter listing all the things God created and how God ranked each thing. When God created light, God labeled it good. When God created the sky, he said it was good. The land and its plants, good. The sun and the moon, good. The animals in the ocean and in the sky, good. The animals on the land, you guessed it, good. When God looked at his creation in human form, this is what he said. It is not good for the man to be alone. Did you catch it? The first not good thing in all of creation was being alone. What's my point? Here it is. We are wired to not be alone. We are designed for connection. We are made to do life together with other people, but you know that already because you know what your friendships mean to you. You can tell that you're wired for connection by the way you feel that weird disappointment when you FaceTime your friend and they don't answer. You can tell you're wired for connection by the way when something good happens to you, you almost immediately send a text to that one friend. You know you're wired for connection by the way you feel when something terrible or unexpected happens and you just need someone to talk to. So, why does small group matter if you already have friends? Small group matters because your spiritual growth matters. This is more than just somebody to hang out with or snap with. This is secure, unfailing acceptance and connection with others. There's another place in scripture where we see how important going through life together is. The author of Hebrews had something to say about this in a letter to some of the first Christians trying to figure all this out. Check it out. Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promise. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. Don't miss this. This is a big deal. The writer of Hebrews is talking to Jewish Christians, which basically meant they could be facing either execution or excommunication. That just means exclusion from their community because of their beliefs in Jesus. This wasn't just saying, hey, if it's not too much to ask, could you skip gaming for a night and make some time to come to small group? No. This ask from the writer of Hebrews was saying meeting together consistently is worth the risk of putting your life on the line. For them, these were hard times. The writer of Hebrews stresses, don't give up meeting together. Why? Because we know at least two things happen when we meet together. First, hope happens when we meet together. What is hope? It's being convinced that our future is better than our now. And we all need that. Without hope, we don't end racism, we don't fight global warming, and we don't rescue the abused. Without hope, instead of finding a reason to fight for what's good and right, we let evil make itself at home in our world. The hope that things can be different is what motivates us to act. And it isn't just hope for the world. When we meet together, it reminds us that there is hope for our own lives, hope for better days ahead, hope that next week might be better than this week. And second, meeting together teaches us that love and good deeds happen when we meet together. We make each other better. We make each other stronger. Another writer said it in this way when he said, "Iron sharpens iron," meaning we can make each other better. Meeting together calls us up and holds us accountable to set a higher standard of who we imagine we can become. And maybe the most important phrase in that whole passage is not giving up. The writer of Hebrews knew that it would be super tempting to skip the living life together part of following Jesus. The author knew that meeting together would require commitment and sacrifice. Showing up and connecting requires reprioritizing your schedule and guarding the time you get with your group. Meeting together doesn't always seem easy when there are other things you could be doing. And I'm not just talking about meeting together with the other high schoolers in your group. In fact, a lot of the book of Hebrews is devoted to the idea of having a leader, a person who knows God and is a little further along than you in your life. The truth is, we all need somebody, an adult somebody, outside of our families who can help us figure out life. That's what your leader signed up to be, and here's what's wild about this group of adults. They actually want to do this. They signed up for real conversations about your real life. They don't need a fake or perfect version of you. They signed up to be here every week for the real you. Here's what I'm getting at. This idea of community in Hebrews is more than just a group of friends. This wasn't your average group of friends watching football together or the people you make TikToks with. This was ride or die. These were the kinds of friends and leaders who encourage you, cheer for you, say the real stuff to you, listen when you say the real stuff to them, love you enough to tell you what's real even if you don't want to hear it, stick up for you when someone talks bad about you or tries to hurt you. This is bigger than hanging out. This is what we call community. And here's the deal. The people who were meeting together in the original church, they weren't all alike. They weren't all friends before they came to church. They didn't all agree on every little thing. In fact, if I can be real with you for a second, part of being a mature person is understanding you don't have to be like people to love them. I know some of you are thinking, yeah, but my small group sounds nothing like that. But imagine with me for a second, what if it could? What would it take? The fact is, what's said in this verse can be true of your small group experience. Think about it. Meeting together, motivating each other towards love and good works, and encouraging each other can be your reality. But let's be honest, you have to be willing to put something into it. In other words, when it comes to your small group, you get out what you put in. Either your small group experience in high school will be great or it won't. And this isn't something your leader can do for you. Ultimately, your group experience will be what you and your group decide it will be. And here's why that matters so much. The quality of your high school years will be impacted for better or worse by your small group. What you put in here affects every other area of your life. I can introduce you to graduate after graduate who looks back on their years in high school and tells a story of their small group being where the best memories happened, the toughest conversations happened, the most important moments happened. I can also introduce you to graduates who would say the opposite. For them, it was 1 hour a week in a group of people who weren't real, didn't really care about each other, and ultimately it didn't affect them. Both are possible, and both are ultimately up to you. But how? What could and should we put into our small group experience? I'm sure there's a lot, but let's start with a few things. Be present. Commit to showing up for small group every week. Give it a chance. Be open to what could possibly happen. You never know what you could get out of the time you spend with your group. If only you invest the time. You know the difference between the parts of life where you can actually try and actually care versus the parts of life where you pretend to try and pretend to care. Don't pretend in small group. Try to give it your all and see what happens. It's important to be present. Next, create a safe place. This is not about being nice. This is about being real. What happens when you're in a place where you know what you said will be talked about later by the people in small group? You say less, you pretend more. In a way, you become fake because you feel as if you have to be. And I just think high school provides enough fake places with fake people. You don't need more of that. You need a place where you can be safe enough to be real. But this isn't something that doesn't happen naturally. This is something you plan for and you fight for daily. This is something you call out when somebody does or shares after group in a way that makes group time an unsafe place. A real safe place is possible, but it takes a fierce commitment to protecting the safety of your group. And lastly, make it personal. Remember, you get out what you put in. You can't expect somebody to share if you don't share as well. You have to make the effort to get to know people and to care about them too. Send the text. Start the conversation. Sit with someone from your group and service who you don't normally sit with. Don't pretend like you don't know each other at school. Welcome somebody new in the group. Be willing to talk it out when you need to, even when it's hard. What's the point? The point is that we were made for more than surface level relationships. We were made for a real relationship with God that we experience with other people in a very real way. We can literally alter our experience at church and ultimately grow our relationship with God by altering the investment we put into small group. Maybe this sounds like something you want. Maybe, knowing your current small group, it seems impossible. But just imagine with me, what if this was your small group experience? How different could your high school years look if you had a group of people who were always showing up for each other, safe and real with one another, who knew you, the real you, people who were living life together? That's what small group can be. Whether that's true for your small group is entirely up to you. And that's what we want you to talk about when we meet this week. Because when it comes to small group, you get out what you put in.
I hope that you guys took a lot of notes and that you learned a lot about community and how important it is to build on those relationships and keep those relationships strong as you dive deeper into the people around you in community. My prayers for you is that God continues to put people in your path that will be a part of your community and that you guys will continue to prosper together. I hope you guys have a great week and a great school year.